I'm 96 years old, and I still can't quite make peace with how it all happened. That's not entirely true. I understand it. I understand all of it. I just can't accept it. And those are two different things, believe me. When you're 96 years old, you know the difference between understanding something and feeling it. They don't often line up. Mostly, they never do. I'm sitting by the window right now. Outside it's March, cold, gray. The tree across the street, an old oak, I remember when it was young, stands bare, and through its branches I can see the rooftops of the houses down the road. I look at it and think, everything that tree has seen, everything I've seen, and still, I didn't learn. My name is Robert Calloway. I was born before the war in a small town in rural Tennessee, where the roads turned to mud in the spring and dried to dust in the summer. My father was a carpenter, my mother a seamstress. There were 4 of us children, and we never had much, but we always had each other. That word I carried with me from childhood, together. Back then it meant something solid, something you could lean on. I've lived a long life, longer than I expected, if you can even expect such things. I've outlived 2 wives. The first, Dorothy, was taken by illness when we were still in our 40s. The second, Ruth, I buried 8 years ago. Ruth and I had 32 years together, and they were the quietest years of my life. Not the most exciting, the quietest. There's a difference. From my first marriage, I have a son, James. He's 71 years old now. 71. He's a grandfather himself. He has children, grandchildren. I don't see him often. He lives in Nashville, and I'm here, outside of Knoxville, in this house where everything still reminds me of Ruth. But we talked on the phone, used to talk. I want to tell you about something that happened 2 years ago. I was 94 at the time, and I did something that felt like the most right thing I had ever done in my life. I gave my son $150,000. Hold on now. Don't go drawing conclusions just yet. I know what you're thinking, but this isn't quite the story you're expecting. Or maybe it is, just not the way you think. I've been saving that money my whole adult life. From the first wages I earned at the plant, where I worked for nearly 40 years. From the small amounts Ruth set aside. She saved even when there was barely anything to save from. Part of that money was her hands, her careful nature, her quiet, you just never know. When she passed, I found several envelopes in the drawer of the old dresser in the bedroom. In each one, cash and a small piece of paper in her handwriting. For a rainy day, for the grandchildren, in case it's needed. I cried when I found them. Quietly, alone, where nobody could see. I kept that money for years, the whole time thinking, who is it really for? I don't need it anymore. What am I going to buy? More medicine? New shoes I've got nowhere to wear? I walk around the house in slippers and get outside maybe once a week if the weather cooperates. The money just sat there waiting. Then James called. He told me about an opportunity. A small house in a good part of Nashville. Right price, good neighborhood, something he'd been thinking about for a long time. But he was a little short. He wasn't asking, he was just telling me about it. At least that's how it seemed to me. Or maybe that's how I wanted to hear it. I didn't sleep that night. I lay there and thought thought about how James is my only child, how that money was going to be his eventually anyway, how it's better to give now when it's actually useful than later when I'm gone and it's just paperwork in a will. I thought about Ruth. What would she have said? And it seemed to me she would have said, "Robert, don't hold on. Let it go." I let it go. I called James in the morning and told him, "I'm going to give you the money, all of it, $150,000. He was quiet for a few seconds. Then he said, "Dad, are you serious?" I said, "I'm serious." He said, "Dad, I don't know what to say." I said, "You don't need to say anything." He drove up the following week. We sat at the kitchen table, drank coffee, and I looked at him, already an old man himself, gray at the temples, hands that aren't as steady as they used to be. And I felt something very warm inside me. Pride, maybe, or just the plain joy of still being able to give something, of still having something to give. He took the money, drove back to Nashville, and I was left alone in this house, without those envelopes in the dresser drawer, without that quiet sense that there's something there if things get bad. But I felt good. I genuinely felt good. A few months went by. James called less often. At first, I didn't think much of it. He's busy, work, the grandkids. But then I started to notice that the conversations were getting shorter. "How you doing, Dad?" "Fine, son." "Okay, good. I'll call you." And that was it. No details. No, "Are those new pills helping?" No, "I might come up for a few days." Nothing. He bought the house. I asked once, "Where exactly? What's the neighborhood like? Do you like it?" He answered briefly, didn't go into much. I didn't push. I didn't want to seem like I was keeping score. I didn't want him thinking I expected something in return. Then, something happened that I wasn't prepared for. Last October, I took a bad turn. My heart. It wasn't the first time. I've learned to live with it reminding me it's there. But this time it was more serious. I was in the hospital for 2 weeks. My neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, she called the ambulance. She packed my bag. She did, not James. I called my son from the hospital. He said, "Dad, hang in there. I'm pretty tied up right now. But if it gets serious, let me know." If it gets serious. I lay there with an IV in my hand thinking, what does he think this is? He didn't come. In 2 weeks in that hospital, he called 3 times. 3 times in 2 weeks. Each time brief. Each time from a distance. I lay there staring at the ceiling thinking, there it is. That's where that money went. Not into a house in Nashville. Right here. Into this space between us. But I don't want you to misunderstand me. I don't regret the money. I truly don't. If I could go back and choose again, I'd give it again. Because I wasn't giving it so he'd come around. I gave it because I loved him. And that love hasn't gone anywhere. But something broke just the same. And I spent a long time trying to figure out exactly what. Lying in that hospital, I realized I had made a mistake. Not in giving the money, but in the fact that I had never once talked to James about what I actually need. My whole life I taught him to be strong, self-sufficient, not to ask for things. And he learned. So well that now he doesn't ask either. And he doesn't understand that other people sometimes need someone to just show up. Just come. No reason. No money involved. Just because. I never told him, James, I'm lonely. Not once. Because I thought, that's weakness. Because I thought, he already knows. But people don't know what you don't tell them. Not even the ones closest to you. When I got out of the hospital, I wrote him a letter. A real one, on paper. It took me a while. My hand shakes now. But I wrote it. I wrote that I miss him. That I want to see him more. That I don't need the money back. And I don't need explanations. I need him. His voice. His face. Even just a few hours a month. He came 2 weeks after that letter arrived. Sat across from me at the same kitchen table where we'd had coffee when he took the money. And he cried. First time I'd seen him cry in years. He said, Dad, I didn't know. I thought you wanted to be left alone. You always said, don't worry about me. I'm fine. And he was right. That's exactly what I always said. That's what this whole story is really about, not the money. The money was just a reason. Just the thing that something much more important was hiding behind. My whole life I gave, with work, with money, with silence. Gave and never said what I wanted in return. I believe that real love doesn't bargain. Real love just is, and it doesn't ask for anything. But I was wrong. Not about love not asking. It truly doesn't. But about love not needing words. It does need words. You have to open your mouth and say what you feel. Because even the people who love you cannot read your mind. 96 years old. And I'm still learning how to tell the truth. Not the big truth, about God, about meaning, about dying. The small truth. Son, come visit. I miss you. Now James calls every Sunday. He comes up once a month. Sometimes he makes the drive to me. Sometimes I go down to him if I'm feeling up to it. Last time we sat together and went through old photographs, the ones Ruth kept in a cardboard box under the bed. He laughed, looking at pictures of himself as a little boy. I watched him and thought, there it is. That's what was really in those envelopes, not the money. This. I don't know how much time I have left. Maybe a year, maybe less, maybe more. I've stopped trusting anyone on that question, doctors included. But I know one thing. If you have someone close to you, don't wait. Don't wait until things get bad. Don't wait until you've saved up enough money to give away. Just say, I miss you. Just say, I need you. It doesn't cost a thing, and it's the only thing that truly stays.